Good evening everybody and welcome to PSR TV. Tonight we're proud to present the Gentlemen's Racing Club, where we are live at Donnington Park, Leicestershire, England, for the penultimate round of the Ultranet Network's Division 1 Championship. Shortly we'll be going out on track as qualifying is about to get underway. First we'll have a few minutes on what promises to be a very exciting evening for this championship. We're just waiting for qualifying to get underway. We're just waiting for qualifying to get underway, and seem they're having a few server difficulties for the racers here, but while we're doing that, let's have a look at this Donnington Park circuit. Circuit was built in its current format back in 1931. It's a pre-World War II circuit, much like Brands Hatch, and was first designed for motor racing, for motorcycles. Didn't hold its first Grand Prix until 1935. And since then it closed in 1939 due to World War II, when it was used as a military depot, and remained closed until the early 1970s when Tom Wheatcroft opened the facility and rebuilt the track. Since then we've held the Donington circuit has held a European Grand Prix. This season the DTM, this season it held the debut round of the football racing car. The former Formula Premier League. It's also in progress of becoming the new circuit for the 2010 British Grand Prix, replacing Silverstone from the historic calendar. Donnington for the moment has been the traditional home for the MotoGP racing in the UK. But also has been a major feature on the British Touring Car calendar for quite a number of years. It's also a favourite home of many a club racing championship, the MG Car Club, the 750 Motor Club and the Aston Martin Owners Club, being regular attendees at the Donnington circuit. Back in 2007, the World Series by Renault appeared at Donnington for the first time, and it's also held its first motocross GP. Right, the cars are just finishing their practice sessions, and several cars circulating around the circuit, trying to get in a last little sight of what the conditions are like today. The final few drivers are joining us here after a minor glitch with the server, and it's starting to look like we're going to have a pretty big field. 26 drivers already on the grid, assembling in the pits. And I know from looking at the times earlier, there's some good racing and some good times expected. Okay, as we look at this Donnington Park circuit in a little bit more detail, as typically as pronounced by James Allen, it's split into 3 sectors, as we well know. The first sector takes in Redgate, the Cramer Curves and the whole Old Hairpin, probably the most technical section of the Donnington Park circuit. Second section through Starkeys, McLean's, through Coppice and down under the Dunlop Bridge is the second sector, one of the quickest sectors on the track, and finishing off with the extension down to the Melbourne Loop. Racing format, as always, for the Gentlemen's Racing Club is 3-lap qualifying, so out lap, fast lap, in lap. Park permit rules apply, so drivers have to carry their racing fuel as they enter the qualifying session, and the setup they're going to use for the racing. There's then 2 races, split by a qualifying session. First race is a 20-minute sprint race, and second a 40-minute feature race, which will include 1 pit stop, and tyre wear is a choice. Scoring, we have 15 points down to first and to 15th, double points for the feature race because of double length, and bonus points for pole, fastest lap, leading a lap, and the most places gained, so chances for everybody to score some points. As we look at the standings in Division 1, we can see it's Emmanuel Gaxella has managed to pull away a little lead from Will Farrer and Nico Jokinen, chasing him strongly in second and third. Small gap back then to Simon Meluche and Lars Strydonk, with Dave Carr-Smith routing out the top 6, and those drivers in with a chance of winning the Ultranet Network's Division 1 Championship title. In the team standings, Storm Racing have a commanding lead over Torrent Motorsport, closely challenged by JHR. A little further back, Team Osinis, apologies team if I got that one round my neck, and closely followed by Crew Racing. Looking at the Division 1 Championship, we have, as I say, 6 drivers in with a shot at the championship. Emmanuel, Will, Nico, Simon, Lars and Dave. With 174 points available from these next 2 rounds, it's anybody's title. Money has to be on one of the top 3 to have their best chance of wrapping up this inaugural Ultranet Networks Division 1 Championship. In the team championship, Storm Racing with Manuel Gaxella and Lars Strydonk have their commanding lead in their Renault Megane. Torrent Motorsport, Robert Fakes and 4th place Simon Meluche. Closely behind in second, and JHR Racing with Max Hagman and the 3rd place Nico Jokinen right on the Torrent Motorsport tail. In the team championship, 298 points available from these 2 rounds, so again wide open as we go into the penultimate round. Okay, if we quickly look at the quick whiz at the top driver, Emmanuel Gaxello. Great season so far this season. 14 starts, 4 wins, with of course that tremendous result at Mid-Ohio with 2 poles, 2 wins and the fastest lap. Really proving that he's got to grips with his Renault Megane and is driving the championship forward. Okay, we're about to go on circuit to catch the second half of this first qualifying session. Drivers are just coming round to start their hot laps. Ivan Iglesias on his quick lap here, I think, coming down to the Melbourne loop. Nice tight line there by Ivan, driving it through. This is a tricky part of the circuit. You need to get the power on early to exit the hairpin, then quickly onto the brakes. Now that should give the Meganes a bit of a chance. They've been renowned this season for their strong acceleration speeds. Will Fowler there drops in a 142.5, and Iglesias goes second. 3/4 of a second behind him, so that's a very good time by both Will Farah and Ivan Iglesias. Emmanuel Gaxello, the championship leader, dropped in now into second, 0.6 behind Will Farah. As we look at Lars Stridonk, another one of the top 6. Again here coming to complete his lap. Neatly out of the final hairpin, powers it over to the line, and he's into 4th. Good work there by Lars. It looks like the top 6 are shaping themselves up to get to the front of the grid and battle it out, but just as I say that, Jack Keithley drops it just in front of Will by less than half a tenth of a second. Fantastic lap there by Jack. Mike Wrightson now as we go to circuit. No fair BMW. Mike not as high up the standings as we come to expect of him in a GRC season, but as always in an immaculately colour schemed no fear BMW. Mike's just heading out, getting ready to start his hot lap here, so let's keep an eye on Mike and see how he takes this Donnington circuit. On board now with Mike Wrightson as he turns into Redgate corner. Smashes down to 3rd gear, quickly on the acceleration, and then Mike was talking about, as were several of the BMW drivers, the balance between picking short gears and longer gears for this tricky Donnington circuit, and he's neatly into old hairpin. Mike, one of the smoothest drivers in the GRC. Very quick but very smooth, and through Starkies, into McLean's, back to 3rd, power on, just clipping the apex, and then running the curbs on the outside. He turns into Coppice, blind corner, top of the hill, turn in just before you can see the apex. Great run, great line there by Mike. Now, looks as though he's gone for slightly longer gearing, because he's not quite hitting the rev limiter there in 5th. Turns in, using the curbs. Just enough, not too much. His BMWs don't like too much of the curbing, and can get a little bit tail happy if you just keep running them over the curves. Down the Melbourne hairpin, the back end stepping out a little there for Mike, but he's neatly controlled it. Powering this corner, hard on the brakes, swings it in, keeps a nice tight apex, and powers it out towards the line. This looks like a good run for Mike. Wait to see where he gets on his grid. He's fourth, then 0.7 down, and that's a very good run there from Mike. Looks like the rear-wheel drive BMW is holding its own around this Donnington circuit, not being out-sported by the front-wheel drives. Now let's look at Dave Carl Smith, sixth in the championship at the moment. It's storming race at Nürburgring as he brings it round and off onto his hot lap. On board now with Dave, and it brings us to see the difference between the front wheel drive performance of the Seat and the rear wheel drive performance of Mike Wrightson. So we can see at Redgate, Dave much more comfortable with taking the inside curve there. The Seat has been renowned this season for its ability on the curves, and neatly runs through there, managing a little bit of understeer, neatly through the curves, down at the old head. Lines it up neatly for the McLeans on the left, flicks it in, again, lots of curve on the inside, lots of curve on the outside. He brakes sharply for just flick it into coppers. Again, just little twitches on the steering wheel, just control the understeer. Seat is a little understeer happy at times, but it's very good on the brakes. Into the chicane nicely. Looks like Dave had a bit of a cut problem on the entry to the chicane. He just looked like he missed the first apex, and it's cost him a little. He's half a second down at that point. And again, he looks as though he's missed the chicane. Sorry, missed the apex at the hairpin. Little unusual here, because Dave has been Mr. Consistency so far this season. He's in the top six, not through outright speed. He's not been the quickest driver, but he's been very consistently getting the car home, getting the car into good positions. And top 10 there for Dave Carl Smith. Right, a newcomer now to the GRC, we have RP McMurphy. Interesting to see how he's tackling things in the Seat. McMurphy took part in one of the recent Donington Park playoff rounds, so he should be quite familiar with this circuit. And his first GRC position is... He's 15th. Sorry about that delay. A minor technical issue at my end. So quickly looking at the top 10, Jack Keithley, P1. P2, Will Farrer. P3, Nick Rowland. P4, Emmanuel Gaxella. P5, Mike Wrightson. P6, Ivan Iglesias. P7, Lars Hackett. P8, Nico Jokinen. P9, I believe, is Jack Nicholls, and P10, Mark Jones. Right, as the drivers prepare for this sprint race, there's a short 3-minute warm-up session for those drivers to just check out the handling, confirm that they're not trying to hot lap it for 20 minutes. As we look at the broadcast schedule, tonight we have the round 8 from Donnington Park of the Ultranet Networks Division 1 Challenge. And then next week we have round 9, the Brands Hatch finale for the Division 2 RedShiftNews.com Division 2 Challenge. And then in a fortnight's time, the season finale again at Brands Hatch for Division 1, the Ultranet Networks Division 1 Challenge. As always, broadcast start at 8:15 Greenwich Mean Time, and it would be our pleasure for you to be here. As we wait just for drivers to complete their warm-ups, we'll just take a few moments to watch over cars and have a little break, and I'll have a drink and join you in 2 minutes for the Ultranet Networks Division 1 Challenge sprint race from Donnington Park.
personnel leave the grid now.
Welcome back everybody as the grid starts to form for this sprint race. 20 minutes or 12 laps of the Donnington Park circuit. Jack Keithley leads us away with Will Farrer, Emmanuel Gaxella, championship leader, distinctive title sponsor liveried McGann. Quickly follows around in third place. As the drivers complete this warm-up lap, we'll just give you a few details about the top six. To say, well, Emmanuel Gaxella, nice positive lead, with his best round coming at Mid-Ohio. Will Farrer, past champion, season 3 in GRC. Since they joined the crew team, and would be up there with Emmanuel, but had a few issues with penalties during this season. Nico Jokinen, the third main title contender, a regular top 5 season finisher. He is incidentally the highest placed driver with not to receive a penalty this season. Simon Meliush, again another great competitor from season 4, back here in season 5. Another good season. No wins yet, but a regular in the top 10. Lars Stridon, tricky season for Lars this season. Been a little inconsistent, but on his day he's one of the quickest here at the GRC. And rounding out the top 6 in the championship standings, Dave Carl-Smith. Not necessarily the fastest, as proven by his 10th place on the grid now, but he is one of the most consistent drivers this season, regularly finishing, regularly bringing home his car, and proving the worth of just bringing the car home. Jack Keithley now brings the cars to the grid. Will Farrer lining his Porsche nicely onto the left-hand side, and we've got an abort. We have an abort. Looks like the admins have identified a few problems happening just at the moment with the server, so we've aborted the race start. Chance there for people to just take a moment, just check the PCs are running, check the routers, get settled, move around in the chair, get ready for the race. Just reading the comments from the drivers here, and it's some people are having difficulties with warping, some saying there's absolutely no problem whatsoever, so it must be a fairly localized issue in some places. Just confirming everything is okay. Just to remind you of the championship positions here, we've got Emmanuel Gaxella on 332 points, Will Farrer 266 points, Nico Jokinen 259 points, Simon Meliush 225 points, Lars Stridunk 207 points, and Dave Carl-Smith 181 points. 87 points up for grabs over these two races tonight. Double points, of course, in the second feature race, the 40 minutes. So I'm sure Emmanuel would like, if possible, to get a chance to wrap the season up tonight before we go down to Brands Hatch. Having said that, I know Will and the Porsche team are expecting some good results tonight. The Porsche has had its difficulties in handling at various courses over the season, but the Porsche guys were telling me before the race that this is one of the circuits they found the better handling at, and are hoping to get a good few points scoring positions. On the other hand, the Alfa Romeo team were complaining that they couldn't get the car to quite handle properly, which is a little bit of a shame, especially given the history, because the first car ever to win a race at Donnington Park was an Alfa Romeo back in 1935 at the Donnington Park Grand Prix. An Alfa Romeo P3 was the first car to win. After that, in 1937 and 38, the Auto Union Silver Arrows took over and dominated for a little while before the war. But with no Mercedes, it's down to the Alfa Romeos to hold up the history and tradition for this Donnington Park circuit. Just give me one moment and I'll talk into the administrators and the race control and find out what is happening in a moment, and we'll just cut to a break and be back with you shortly. Come back to us here on PSR TV. Welcome back everybody to PSR TV and the Gentleman Racing Club. And tonight's racing with the Ultranet Network's Division 1 Championship. I've just been talking to Race Control and unfortunately they are having difficulties with the server and they've had to cancel tonight's sprint race. Drivers are currently just out on track, just doing a final test to make sure the server issues have gone away to an acceptable level, and then we'll be back on with qualifying for the feature race. So, just to repeat, no sprint race tonight, straight on to the feature race. While we wait for the race control to be happy and satisfied, we just proceed around the lap with pole sitter from the now abandoned sprint race, Jack Keithley. You see there, he's driving the Seat very, very neatly. Fifth gear, under the bridge, through swamps. Hard on the brakes, turns it into McLean's, and again another car, another Seat able to use the curbs on the entry and on the exit. I'm here now from race control. We've got 30 seconds of this testing session to go and then we'll be straight into qualifying. So see Jack coming around a beautiful circuit, this Donnington Park circuit, set for major reconstruction before the 2010 British Grand Prix. This section here will change dramatically with a new longer straight linking up so it doesn't go through the S's any longer. So they'll come back round here and out onto a little in-loop section, replacing Goddard's before it comes back and rejoins, goes off to the right there, and the new section will come back on and rejoin the circuit here and proceed back down to Redgate. The organisers have said that they have no plans to change any parts of the circuit between Redgate and McLean's, which will please those with the history, as that will keep the famous old hairpin and Craner curbs. Looks like we're waiting for one or two more drivers to reconnect after the server restart. Maybe one or two more still to come, but qualifying should be underway shortly. Just to recap, tonight, assuming this round goes ahead with no further hitches, Emmanuel Gaxella can solidify his lead in the championship. Currently, he's leading by 63 points. So long as nobody manages to, neither Will Farrer or Nico Jokinen manage to put a big dint into that points, Emmanuel will be going into the Brands Hatch finale in 2 weeks' time with a commanding position. It's quite unlikely he's going to be able to secure the championship here unless both Will and Nico have a major disaster. But he could limit his contenders down from the current 6, probably down to just those 3. If you'd like to find out more about GRC and racing here, you can find us on www.rfgrc.co.uk. Find us on the forums and register for Season 6, hopefully starting in the first few weeks of 2009. No finalised details yet for the Season 6 lineups, but the usual form at the Gentlemen's Racing Club is not to make dramatic changes. For the view is that the Season 5 formula has been very popular. There are rumours of potentially new cars coming in, just to get people excited. Rumours are the current split of front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive cars will remain, and the circuits for Season 6 are still pretty decided, but there are some rumours of a potential wet race to spice up the season. Further on GRC over the Christmas period, we have the GRC Trophy on the 29th of December. That's a one-off for the season endurance race, non-championship, and it's 90 minutes. No weight penalties, flat out driving, and all the fun of the GRC. Qualifying is now about to start. Jack Keithley will be looking to put in another sterling performance. The challenge this time, of course, will be what are people going to do with their race strategies? Mandatory pit stop. You don't have to change the tyres, so several drivers will opt to use the hard tyres in the race. Other drivers will choose in the race to take the soft tyres, try and get a quick getaway, and make up the 4 or 5 seconds it takes extra at their pit stop by getting themselves some clean air. The first drivers are now out on track. Ivan Iglesias. Last season's champion, a few more difficulties in Season 5. Very nicely coloured car there from Ivan's driving. Repsol. Team Kraken. As you can see, there's a little more cautious on the curbs in that Porsche. Has tended to be a little bit tail happy once if you get any of the wheels slightly off the ground. But it still looks a beautiful car. As he brings it round back onto the start straight, you can see PSR TV advertising in the background. And he's off onto his hot lap. Tied into turn 1, through Redgate, through Hollywood, heads down the Craner curves. One of the iconic sites on the British motor racing circuit. Just a little tail happy there, but neatly controlled by Ivan. Using that little bit of tail slide to just get the power down. Push those rear wheels hard into the tarmac and fire it up into McLean's. Ivan's looking quite confident there, taking plenty of curb through McLean's. Now we'll be looking for a neat exit out onto the back straight to make the full use of that Porsche. So as it comes down now to the Melbourne Loop, this is probably one of the trickier sections for the rear-wheel drive cars. Front-wheel drive seem to be able to just throw it into that corner and whack the power down. The rear-wheel drives just have to be a little bit more cautious, make sure they don't get too much spin on those tyres. Be obviously an interesting factor during the feature race, with that tyre wear becoming an issue. So no sooner has Ivan popped in his fast lap than the next three guys have gone and displaced him. So Will Farrer up at the top with a 1:42.7. It's looking a very creditable time there. And Robert Fakes joins us back in the top. As we look at Jack Keithley, 3/10 up at the moment. Just comes up to complete his lap, rounding Godhards. Nice and tight into the apex. Power down, front wheel scrabbling for grip. And he heads for the line, and again he takes pole from Will Farrer. Storming race for Jack tonight. As we look at Michael Murphy now, he's 3/10 down, but he's coming up to the line. This will still be a creditable position. And he's into fourth position there, dropping championship leader Emmanuel Gaxella down into 5th. There could be a few people trying to go light, make the most of this early stage of the race and get away. Either that or Will Farrer's been bunging a few fivers around to try and get plenty of people up ahead of Emmanuel Gaxella. Now earlier this week, when asked on the forum what would it cost, he did mention he had lots of money left. So maybe Will's bank balance is a little lighter. But I'm sure Will wouldn't descend to dirty tricks of that nature. Looking around the track now, we have Alan Cottini driving one of the few Skodas, currently in P18, as he comes around to the old hairpin in his Playboy liveried Skoda. Sounds a little bit of a contradiction there, Playboy Skoda. Alan, again, a consistent driver, GRC regular and admin. Seems just to be having a few issues getting it to line up correctly through McLean's. Skoda, one of the cars of introduced the GRC in season 4 when it was not a popular Division 1 car, but very popular in Division 2. This season Alan's brought it up into the Division 1 Championship, and after a few early difficulties, he seems to have got to grips with it, just learning to wring its neck, get the check machine around the circuit. Heading up back to Goddards, that's the old pit entry. See how this Skoda turns in, locking a tyre, missing a bit of the apex, but gets it pulled back in for the exit. Power down. And 17. Probably Alan will be a little bit disappointed with that position, but not too bad for that. Nice looking Playboy Skoda. And now, looking across at, back down to the old hairpin, we have Simon Meliush, 4th place in the championship title. Little chance to run the legs on this Seat. Not far off the pole time in the Division 2 Redshift News sponsored title sponsor for the Division 2. Little wide, oh, he's on the grass, in the gravel, it's all gone wrong. Goal, Simon. Just as I was talking up your title championship hopes. Be interested to see what Simon chooses to do here. I know personally, from having made a mistake like that in Division 2, that it can be an option now for him to go back straight to the pit lane. That resets the part firmly, so he could then make whatever adjustments he wants to for his car before the race starts. Gives him a chance to tweak the setting and allow for the fact that he's going to be starting somewhere near the back. Is that what Simon's going to do? We'll keep an eye on him here. No, it looks like he's going to go through with a lap. But a 146.4 puts Simon down in a disappointing 21st position. Now, as we look at another GRC new boy, Dan Curran, swinging the back end of that BMW round, and he bolts to the pit lane. Dan's doing something tactical. Has Mr. Curran got a sneaky plan drawn out there? Right, so as we run down the top positions, Jack Keithley, P1, P2, Will Farrer, P3, Robert Fakes, P4, Nico Jokinen, P5, Michael Murphy, P6, Emmanuel Gaxella, P7, Mark Jones, P8, Mike Wrightson, P9, P8, Mike Wrightson, P9, Lars Stridunk, and P10, Newman, RP McMurphy. Drivers currently in discussion with race control. Some of them still seem to be having a few issues, so we'll bring you any news on that as soon as we get it. It'll be disappointing if it's not able to race tonight, because lots of people will be watching this. I'm sure there's many of you out there watching this live. And I'm hearing now from Race Control, this is a non-championship event. This is a non-championship event. No points for this round. Good chance for the drivers to practice and get some experience in, but we'll have to wait for a ruling from Race Control on whether this race is going to be rerun at the end of the season, or whether this is going to be called. And that is, sorry about that, I was just listening to Race Control, and no news yet on that, and I'll bring that to you, or rather the commentators next week will bring that to you during the Division 2 finale from Brands Hatch. So unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we're not going to be having a championship race this evening. Several of the drivers appear to be having technical difficulties with the server. For more updates on the race, as I say, go on to www.rFgrc.co.uk, where the latest championship positions will be updated on a regular basis. I hear they're still planning for those drivers who aren't experiencing difficulties to continue with the race this evening, so hopefully we'll have 15-20 cars out on the circuit in a few moments. Until then, I'll just bore you silly with my Donnington facts.
All non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
All race control heard that I'm going to bore you silly with interesting facts and moved us up and got us onto the race schedule. So as the cars take to the grid, it'll be interesting to see which cars we have and which ones we don't. Real mix of events here, and 23 laps for this Donnington circuit. So as they set off on their formation lap, it's Jack Keithley in pole. Seem to have lost Will Farrer. We have Nico Jokinen following round in third on the grid, with a missing fourth position, Michael Murphy fifth. Emmanuel Excella actually coming round in fifth, Michael Murphy fourth. Mark Jones sixth, Mike Wrightson seventh, Lars Strydunk in eighth. Newcomer RP McMurphy in ninth, and Stuart Fields rounding out the top 10 in the PSR TV livery car. Looks like Jack's setting a nice comfortable pace on the formation lap here, no sillies, just comfortably driving everybody round. Plenty of time for them to warm up their tyres. A few of the drivers from Division 2, from my experience, could learn with the behaviour of the Division 1 guys here on their formation lap. Very neat, very tidy, very well controlled. Now the challenge here for the front wheel drive guys at the front will be to keep Michael Murphy and Emmanuel Gexelli behind them as they go into Redgate. Those rear wheel drive cars have been particularly quick off the line, the Porsche most of all, but luckily for Jack there's no Will Farrer sat alongside him. So I expect that the two Seats now leading out the front will be heavily under pressure by the time we enter the right-hander at Redgate. The last few cars now forming up on the back of the grid. Dan Curran just slightly out of position, moving it back. Go! Go, go, go! Staller in the back of the field, and Jack Keithley comfortably away, very nicely gets it away. Michael Murphy, Nico Jokinen swamped. Michael Murphy through, Emmanuel Gexella through. Nico Jokinen down into fifth position as Emmanuel dives up the inside of Michael Murphy. Side by side into the start of the Craner curves and neatly drop it line astern. Nico locking the brakes a little bit further back. And Jack Keithley making the most of the fights and tangles behind him to pull out a strong lead into the first corner at McLean's. Already got a second advantage over Emmanuel Gaxella. So he's gone straight on apparently. Looking back from the field, we have Mike Harlow has retired from the race. He seems to go straight on at the McLean's, and Andrea Chiva is also back there trying to extricate himself from the gravel, and he's also retired. Looks like that may have been a small coming together. So and we have Alan Conte out, also in an accident, and that's 3 out in the first half of a lap. Back up towards the front of the grid, we have several drivers locking up tyres going into the first corner as they come up to complete the first lap. Jack Keithley leading from Emmanuel Gaxella. Further back we have in P13 Dan Curran leading Nick Rowland in the Torrent Motorsport car. Oh, and Nick turns Dan around, and Dan has a rude introduction there to his GRC racing career, and as he's scrambling for the grip, Max Hagman has to dive around him, so Dan neatly dumped and spun around, but recovers it nicely. Welcome to GRC. Back up the front, Jack Keithley has moved away, and Emmanuel Gaxella has set about trying to tackle him, but the battle seems to be for third and fourth now between Mark Jones and Michael Murphy, side by side teammates. Ardor Racing beyond view. The line of stern into through the S's. My pronunciation of the team name apparently is being corrected to Ade. Nico Jokinen looking for any opportunity here if these two teammates leave a gap or make a space. Nico's right on Michael Murphy's tail here, looking for an opportunity. But Michael's got that BMW neatly right on the racing line, right on the apex, keeping Nico Jokinen well at bay. A little further back in the field, we have in P6 Mike Wrightson being chased by Jack Nicholls. Behind them we have Lars Stridon cutting through the field as he eats up Phil Roberts through Hollywood and into the Craner curves. Phil just running him wide at the old hairpin. That'll cost him a few car lengths and give Lars a chance to pull away and make some distance. Also gives McMurphy a chance to get on his Phil Roberts' tail. Simon Melius, after that disaster in qualifying, has pulled himself up to P11. So he's on the back of there, and we have a spinner. Mike Wrightson in straight into the barrier, and Jack Nicholls also spinning round and recovering. Maybe we missed an incident there, but those two BMWs were rapidly off into the boonies and collecting the gravel. Battle resumes. Jack's looking down the inside, thinks better of it. Lets Mike recover that position. But he's got a good drive out on the inside out of Melbourne. Just can't quite get his nose inside the wheels of Mike Wrightson there. And he tucks back into the tech slipstream and have a go later in the lap. Back up with the front group, we've got Mark Jones running wide, Michael Murphy now going to get a chance, Nico Jokinen also to have a run through Swans Curve, and they've both got in before McLean's. Very nice clean driving. Mark Jones will be regretting that little bit of gravel, a little bit of dust he kicked up there. Looking for a way back at Nico. It's not the place to do it. Seat locks its brakes, gives the BMW a chance on the run. Manuel Gaxella there also just recovering from the grass. So it's going to be a four-way dice into the chicane. Nico locks up, has to take avoiding action, gives Mark Jones a chance to run around the outside. Now Nico's on the inside, ready for the Melbourne loop. Michael Murphy goes defensive. All clean, very nicely done by all the drivers there. All maintaining position. Manuel managing to use the power of that McGann and its outright acceleration. And again, Nico just locks it up, missing the back of Michael Murphy, just giving his teammate Mark Jones a chance to get on the tail as we go over the start-finish straight. I think Nico's got just enough space here to give him a clean line into Redgate corner. Yes, Nico's holding that BMW of Mark Jones tightly onto the back of the car. Be interesting to see as we fifth of the way through the race now, who's done what on the pit stops. 4 laps in is a little early for choosing to stop. So I wouldn't expect anybody just yet, but we have seen some strange strategies come to play, not least last week when one of the Division 2 guys took a very early pit stop and got himself a podium. Now heading back onto the back straight, we have the 4 long line again. Michael Murphy trying to look on the inside of Emmanuel Gaxella, but not really an opportunity there as Emmanuel hops it over the curbs. But Nico's taken an opportunity to get onto the back of Michael Murphy. Now can he make it work down into Melbourne? It's going to be tight on the brakes. Who's the bravest? Nico holds it tight. Michael lets it run wide. Should give him a little bit more acceleration as they go down towards Goddard's. And it does. Michael secures holding that position. Emmanuel's run a little wide this time, but again that McGann should be able to just use its acceleration and pull away from Michael Murphy. So great racing this by these 4 guys, keeping it neat, tidy and on the track. Also in the background it's giving Lars Stridonk a chance to bring his McGann up onto the back of this chain of 4. In the meantime, Jack Keithley's got a 12-second, yes, you did hear me right, a 12-second advantage after 5 laps. Unheard of in the GRC, that sort of gap. Wait, it'll be interesting to see what strategy Jack is running here. As again, Nico's a little squirmy through Swans. All lining it up, ready for copies, and we've got cars off in the background at McLean's. Cars off in McLean's. We've got Nick Rowland recovering. Mike Wrightson's passing him. It's like Nick's left part of his car somewhere along the straight there. And retiring. So Nick Rowland retires with suspension damage. Back at the front with back to Emmanuel and this battle for second. Emmanuel dives down the inside. But Michael Murphy takes the opportunity, gets himself up into second place there, forces the McGann back down to third. Nico again picking off Mark Jones's position and trying to make the most of this battle ahead. All this time, Lars Stridon's closing in, giving himself a chance to get on the tail, get in the tow, and use the power of that McGann to gain another position. Jack Keithley now quietly pulls out to 14.5 seconds in front as the chasing pack work their way through Old Hairpin. Emmanuel's got a run here, can't quite make it up the inside. It's not the easiest place to pass it at McLean's on this Donnington Park circuit. This section they're entering here is one of the areas that will be significantly changed for the 2010 Grand Prix. Wider circuit being planned at this position with the pits and paddock complex up where the current Dunlop Bridge is located. These four still close, just settling slightly. Emmanuel taking an awful lot of curb at that point. Gives him a chance to have a go at Michael, using the acceleration at McGann. Question is, can he stop it? He's got it slowed, it's squirming on the exit. And four line astern, Nico looking at an opportunity to dive down the inside, 3 wide into Goddard's. Hold your breath, think thin. Michael Murphy back in front, and Emmanuel goes to his left, gives him the outside line for Redgate. But can the power of that McGann get him round the outside? Not quite. Michael Murphy holds it tight. Nico tries to dive back inside. Emmanuel cuts him off. But great racing, great racing. Nico swinging the back end out on that Seat, just having to use the power to pull it back into line. Oh, and Michael Murphy's lost it. Michael's gone, and he's hit the tyre wall in front of the spark plug. Oh, Michael. Dropping back several places there. So as Nico dives on the inside into Coppice, again, not the best place to try and make a pass on this circuit. Mark Jones now taking the opportunity to try and gain some places back. Side by side here with Nico, 3 cars dicing it behind them. Giving Emmanuel a little bit of a chance, but he's missed the apex. Nico's jumped it over the curbs. Simon Meluche now up into 5th, dicing with Nico. Again, Emmanuel's missed his braking point, but he's using the power on the outside. This McGann really does accelerate quickly. Stridon joining in the battle. Mark goes to the inside, Emmanuel to the outside, Nico tight on the apex. And crossing the line, it's Emmanuel still, but Mark's got that outside line again. Role reversal from last time. Nico took it in, keeping an eye, waiting for any opportunity to make up ground if there's a mistake here. As they go through Hollywood, 2 abreast, need to sort it out into a line here really. These guys dicing's going to give Emmanuel a chance to pull away. Oh, Mark Gravett straight on foot, Old Hairpin. It's got a little bit wide, onto the grass, no chance to grab it. Emmanuel's put a tyre onto the grass as well, locking up into McLean's. Giving Mark Jones a chance to get back on the tail as they enter Coppice. Does look like Emmanuel's having a few problems either with tyres or with brakes. He's locking up at most corners and running wide. Looking back over their shoulder, you've got Nico and Simon Meluche as they go side by side into Foggage's S's. Emmanuel dropping back here. if he's got a problem. You know, he's again struggling to get it slowed down quite as he'd like. The brakes have been the weak point in the Megane armour all season, but you can't fault the car on its acceleration. Again, completely different lines through Goddard's. Mark Jones tucks the inside, Nico cuts it across, and Emmanuel misses the first apex and darts it out to the corner. Dropping back a little bit now though, Emmanuel in 4th position. Oh, and Nico's off at Redgate. This pack is slowly thinning out. Nico couldn't quite see whether it was a nudge or he just run it a little bit wide with Emmanuel there as they try to get through Redgate, and Nico is out, suspension damage. Oh, so sorry there for Nico. So Mark Jones. As we cut back to the leader, Jack Keithley, who quietly has run himself a 22-second lead in 9 laps. There's talk in Division 2 about whether Mark Tiller had managed to fit some rockets onto his Seat a couple of races ago, and now it looks as though Jack's managed to borrow those and stick them on the back of this one. Also just hearing that Emmanuel Gaxella has pulled out, so maybe it was contact with Nico and damage to both cars there. So they're out at lap 9. Battle for 5th and 6th now, Phil Roberts and Mike Wrightson. Phil's going up the inside of Mike as we leave the Melbourne Loop and enter Goddard's. Mike's tucking up BMW tightly in behind. Approaching half distance now, so drivers starting to be wary of their tyre usage, particularly if they've gone soft tyres. Some of these drivers may have gone for a soft tyre setting. Mike's got a better run out of Redgate through Hollywood. Should give him position as they go through the Craner curves. Phil sensibly backs off and puts it into the toe. No point trying to fight that through the Craner curves. There's only going to be one that result from a fight down there, and that's an accident. Behind Phil, Michael Murphy recovering from his earlier incident. So just 11 runners. 11 runners just left now, as something approaching 23 took the qualifying session, but remember several of those left shortly after the qualifying when it was called a non-championship event due to the server issues. So just approaching the halfway point. So just as we approach the halfway point, we'll go back to Jack Keithley and have a quiet NASCAR style run through the field. So currently P1, 23-second lead for Jack Keithley, GMT DHR Seat. In second place, Mark Jones, Ade Racing BMW. In third place, recovering from a poor qualifying, making the most of drivers dropping out ahead of him, Simon Meliush, Tom at Motorsport, RedShiftNews.com, Seat. In fourth, Lars Stridonk, Storm Racing Megane. Fifth, Mike Ryson, Team No Fear BMW. Fifth place, at first Alfa Romeo with Phil Roberts. In the Ade Racing, Jack Daniels sponsored Alfa Romeo. In seventh, Michael Murphy, right behind his partner team, Phil Roberts. We'll just watch this as they go down towards the S's. Michael sensibly backing out of that, waiting to see if he can get his chance further round this lap. Looks as though the Alpha's got a fair run down to the Melbourne Loop here. So we'll go look back at 8th place, GRC relatively newcomer Dan Curran. Seattle Steelers I can see. Oh yes, Dan's a NFL fan. In P9 we have Stuart Fields in the PSR TV sponsored Seat. And RP McMurphy in the Seat Sport courtesy car. Missing a little bit of rear bumper. And another retirement I'm hearing. Mark Jones now in the Ade Racing BMW has another retirement. So 10 runners in this high attrition GRC race. Right, we're going to look at Michael Murphy now. 5th position. Michael's had a bit of an up and down race. He started the race, got into a little battle in 2nd place with Emmanuel Gaxella, Nico Jokinen and his teammate Mark Jones, before little mishaps here and there pushed Michael Murphy down, but he's recovered that position now and he's back up to 5th, busily trying to catch Mike Wrightson ahead of him, a fellow BMW driver, but 4 seconds he's got there to try and catch up those positions. So he's just bringing it, easing it into Goddard's. And this looks like it could be the pit stop. Yes, Michael Murphy in for his pit stop. Bang on half distance, 58% of the race gone. Good position this for taking a chance. So you can't quite see from this position whether he's taking tyres as well, but he 9 seconds on that pit stop, so that's good stop there for Michael. Gets back out, bit of clean air. Should be no one around, so if he can put in a few quick laps, he's got a chance of getting up to position. And I'm just hearing we have a new race leader. Jack Keithley's been into the pits, and Simon Meluche is off on his own at the moment. But you can see the strength of Jack's race. He's gone into the pits, done his pit stop, and come out in the battle for 2nd place. Fantastic run there by Jack. Simon, though, making the most of his moment in the sun. Taking his redshiftnews.com racing car round the lap. Okay, and joining me now in the booth is Jack Nicholls. Good evening, Jack.
Good evening, Ade.
An interesting evening on the circuit, I gather?
Yeah, I don't really know what to say. The lag wasn't too bad for me, but I was having a weird issue where the whole grid, all the cars, would flicker on and off. So, down into turn 1, suddenly all the cars disappeared for a second or two. And so that was quite difficult to drive with, and so in the end I gave up, I'm afraid, because it was just impossible to drive with. But yeah, it certainly is an interesting night. Simon Meluche, who, as you say, is now in the front, he's fueled to the brim, so he'll be stopping quite a lot later than some of these guys.
Yeah, Simon's problem is going to be that Jack Keithley managed to pull away in that first section so quickly, and Simon had such a poor qualifying position after having ran it into the gravel at Coppice that Jack's almost just waiting for Simon to hand him the position back.
Absolutely, Jack is. I don't know how he's so fast around here. I can't figure it out. He's just flying. He's way faster than anyone else out there. So a really impressive display from him.
Yes, Jack certainly seems to have it all lined up and everything singing tonight. I don't think we've seen a car all night that's gone quite as comfortably as Jack's car.
Absolutely, I watched some of his qualifying laps. Well, his one qualifying lap, and the car was just glued to the road. It's very impressive. He must have the setup completely nailed, and he's right over the back of Simon Melliwish. So, as you say, he looks like he's got this one in the bag. But let's not speak too soon. Good old commentator's curse.
Yes, I've already cursed a couple of guys already, Jack. While you were driving, I've cursed. I think it was Michael Murphy I cursed earlier in the race, and he ended up off in the gravel just so that I said how well he was doing. So let's not put any more curses on the people, particularly Jack, as he's had such a fantastic evening. Probably the person most disappointed that this isn't going to be a championship round.
Yeah, you're spot on there. He's had a very impressive Donnington. He's been topping the timesheets all week as well, so he'll hope that there's a rerun here, or that he can find this sort of pace at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, and I think one of the things is if Jack does manage to win here, and if we do come back for a rerun of the Donnington round, I'm fairly sure the SEAT forum on the GRC website will be fairly busy with requests and offers for Jack set up whatever it is for this race.
Yeah, bribes.
Yes, judging by the way he's just taken Simon there on the entry to Goddard's, I think he can pretty much name his price for this setup.
Yep, absolutely. He certainly is driving. I haven't seen him compete because I'm quite new to the series. I don't think I've seen him so far this season. Have I just been blind, or has he not been competing?
I'm just looking for the details for Jack here, and busily scanning down my notes. Why don't computers ever work when you want them to?
Tell that to the server tonight.
Yeah, the server knows that well. This is Jack's 7th start in a GRC, and to date he hasn't had a top 10 finish. So.
Yeah, that's a very impressive debut then for him.
Yeah, very impressive there for Jack. He'll be pleased with this run, and he'll no doubt be hoping to take this sort of form into the final rounds at Brands Hatch in 2 weeks' time.
Yep, and ultimately on to next season, of course, because that's where the new drivers like me are looking to perform a bit better. I mean, myself, I was better today than I have been. I was really enjoying Donnington. I think my previous best finish was 19th, and by the end of lap 1 I was up to 6th, so I was looking good, but these things aren't to be.
No, sometimes that's just not the case. You just can't. Some nights it's just not your night. Fortunately for myself, most nights in Division 2 this season haven't been my night. So Simon Meluish there is bouncing his way over the curbs, and as we approach three-quarters, just go past three-quarters distance in fact, we'll have another quick whiz down the field. There's not many runners left, so we'll whiz down the field if we can, Mr. Cameraman. So in P1 we have Jack Keithley comfortably out in front with 4-second lead over Simon Meluish, as my pronunciation gets corrected again. Simon yet to stop, but making the most of his opportunities. P3 we have Lars Stridunk. He can keep his eye. He's keeping an eye on Simon and keeping him honest. And Lars himself is being kept very honest by closing in 4th place Mike Wrightson. That no fear livery sort of gives Lars a clue as they both head to the pit stops. They both head to the pit stops at the same time. So interesting to see here who's got the quickest start. Both cars. Lars is away and Mike's away. So no gap gained or lost there. If anything, Mike's lost just a fraction. Maybe just missed his pit box slightly. Lars maybe better slightly on the brakes, cutting that pit lane speed limiter to the limit. So yeah, Lars has given himself 3 or 4 more car lengths than he went into the pit stop with. And continuing down the field, we go P4 Mike Wrightson, P5 Michael Murphy. Early race contender, big dice for P2 in the early stages of the race. But unfortunately, a minor incident and came off the track, recovered his position up to 5th position. Behind Michael we have Phil Roberts in the Alfa Romeo. Again runs slightly wide at the old hairpin, keeping the Ade Racing team heading around the track, currently 5th and 6th place. In 7th we have Dan Curran in his Seattle Steelers NFL car. Dan, another joiner to the season, and now here Simon Meluish is pitting, so we'll cut over to Simon in the pit lane, see if he can hold this 2nd position. He had a good 19-second lead over Lars Stridunk as he entered the pit lane. 9.5 second stop. It's going to be close. Looks like he's just going to keep it. Lars is just on to the back of him now. This is Lars's chance. Simon will be on cold tyres, trying to make a chance here. Yeah, so Simon's looks as though he's got all under control. Possibly didn't take tyres, just heated them up, so they've heated up quite quickly as already used rubber. Yeah, but apparently hearing from the pit lane now that he was on hard tyres, so that wouldn't be a tyre change, just waiting for him to regain that little bit of heat. Simon seems to be having a few problems at McLean's with that Seat, just bounces it over the curves, but recovers it up for Coppice. Lars still trying to chase him down.
Yeah, I was talking to him before the race, and he said that on hard tyres he just can't hook up McLean's. He had trouble there in both his qualifying laps as well, so a bit of trouble with that corner for Simon. And just a note on that, I know you said you had a bit of trouble pronouncing his name. I have no idea how to say it. When he first came onto the scene, well, when I first heard of him, I was calling him Simon Melquiche, whatever that is. I thought he was French or something.
It's good to hear it's not only me that has this Anglo-Saxon name pronunciation problem. If it's not Smith, If it's not Smith, you're going to have a problem with my pronunciation.
Indeed, Mr. Randley.
you don't want to know what I get called at work.
No, go on, tell us.
No. As we keep looking at Simon here, one of the things I found, Jack, as I mean, this is Donnington Park is my local circuit. I live only 11 miles from the circuit itself, and spent many a wasted weekend watching cars go round and round here. McLean's is one of those deceptively tricky corners. You take the corner, I always find it, you take it and it feels nice and you think, well, I could go a bit faster, so you go a bit faster, and then all of a sudden you're digging up gravel on the outside or bouncing over the curbs on the inside.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bizarre corner that widens and then tightens. I think that's the thing. When you initially go through it, you think, right, it's quite a slow corner, but then you see all the extra space that you have on the outside, so you think, right, I'll exploit that. But then as the track curves around to the right, then you get on the grass and well, the wall.
Yes, I spent 8 seasons marshalling at Donnington, and I've spent many an afternoon up at that corner recovering wreckage and back on track. We've got Lars trying to make the most of a couple of mistakes from Simon. Could be that though he's taking the hard tyres, it could be having a few issues this late on in the race. So going into Redgate, he's got Lars right on his back bumper. Mike Wrightson just a few seconds behind, just keeping a careful eye, waiting to see if he can sneak his way onto the podium here. Lars snakes that car to the under braking through the old hairpin, giving Simon a little chance to pull away. Not forgetting, of course, that Jack Keithley is currently 27 seconds, yes, 27 seconds away from this pack in the lead.
That's incredible. That's more than a second a lap, if my math serves me right.
It is, your math serves you well. We're heading for a 23-lap race, and Jack will have pulled out more than a second a lap. GRC Season 5, that's unheard of speed difference over a race distance.
He must be cheating.
I was suggesting earlier he's got the rockets we were suggesting that Mark Tyler had in his Seat in Division 2 the other week when he did something similar. He just got the car hooked up and pulled away from the rest of us giving us no opportunity.
See, I call him Mark Tiller.
Mark Tiller.
Well, that's just my opinion. I don't know.
That does probably sound more accurate than my Tyler.
Well, it's a double L, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes. Yeah. Jack Keithley now bringing it round at 22 of 23 laps completed. Brings it round onto the back straight. Yeah, 3 corners to go. Weaves his way through the chicane. Nice and steady there. Not making any threats to his position here. Ignores all the skid marks from the battle behind that have been left. Completely straightens it up. Quick wheel spin on the exit. Jack, 1 corner to go. And Jack's going to bring it home and flashes the headlights as he wins his first GRC event, as we'll pop back now to the back action in second place. 3 abreast, and as I was saying earlier, Mike Wrightson been sat waiting for these two to make a mistake, and he's done that, and we're going to head 3 abreast into the final corner. Simon on the inside, Mike on the outside, Lars cutting back. It's going to be down to acceleration. Who's got the power? Simon Meliush, second place. Mike Wrightson third. Lars Stridon fourth. Fantastic racing there as Simon wrecks it into Redgate. Another big bill for the team. Back in fifth, Michael Murphy now just crossing the line, taking fifth position. Dan Curran's chasing Phil Roberts now into Goddard's. There may not be many cars on the track, but they're dicing everywhere. Phil locks it up and runs wide. Dan's holding it tight into the inside, but Phil's just managed to hold it to take sixth. Dan Curran seventh. Stuart Fields coming around in eighth. PSR TV car. Congratulations, Stuart. And RP McMurphy bringing it round Goddard's for in ninth place to be the final finisher. First race, and he brings it home in ninth.
Ironically, it looks like I'm classified 17th, having retired, and that's actually my best result of the season.
Well, that would be your seventh. Would be your seventh championship start, wouldn't it, Jack?
Something like that. I can't remember. I think it's 7th, yeah.
So as we round out So, Jack Keithley, Simon Meliush, Mike Wrightson, Lars Stridonk, Michael Murphy, Phil Roberts, Dan Curran, Stuart Fields and RP McMurphy. The only finishers in tonight's GRC non-championship. Yes, non-championship event. We're just going to take a quick little break and we'll be back with you with a quick roundup of the evening and a look forward to future events on PSR TV. Oh, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to PSR TV and the Gentleman's Racing Club. Joining us now in the booth, we have Jack Nicholls, who you heard from him towards the end of that race, and we have Mike Wrightson. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ed.
Interesting race there for both you gentlemen. Mike, in particular there at the last lap and the last two corners, trying to battle it out with the two cars you were slowly catching. Would you like to give us your view on that interesting dice?
Yeah, it gives, well, they say never give up, and I was only just keeping up with Lars, so I just had to hope he was going to start tripping over Simon, and eventually they did at the chicane and just gave me just the opportunity to sneak up alongside into the hairpin, but I just let it go a little bit too wide in the last turn, and that was it. I couldn't hold Simon off the line, but that was 39 minutes of steady driving and then 30 seconds of panic.
Yeah, we caught the end of that on the TV coverage. We'd just seen Jack Keithley wrap up his first win in GRC and cut back to find the three of you busily dicing it out at Melbourne. It's quite an entertaining end to a 40-minute entertaining race.
Oh, it certainly was. Yeah, that got the old heart pumping, I'll tell you.
Thank you very much for that, Mike. And we've got Jack Nicholls also here, who you heard from briefly in the commentary. Anything you'd like to add tonight, Jack?
Well, it was a very impressive drive from Mike, I'd like to say, because he was running sort of early on in the race anyway. I was running near him in sort of 6th and 7th, and I bumped into him a few times. So to recover from that, he did well. But yeah, I mean, no one stopped Jack Keithley today. I don't know how he did it.
No, Jack Keithley must have had a fantastic setup car. As I was saying in broadcast, it'll be several of the Seat drivers will be onto Jack to see if he can share the secrets of how to set the Seat up in advance of getting to Brands Hatch in a fortnight's time. Talking to Brands, Jack and Mike. Mike first, how are you looking forward to the Brands Hatch circuit?
It can be a bit of a tricky one. I can see the BMW might have a bit of a hard time because at Brands, if you kind of touch any of the curves, it really unsettles it. So it could be a tricky one. In theory, the BMW should go well there, but we'll see how much we need to use the curves. So tricky one to call, that one.
I suppose the one advantage for the layout being used this season for GRC is it's using the GP layout rather than the Indy layout. I know from my experience of the BMW, I wouldn't want to be trying to keep up with the front-wheel drive cars on the Indy circuit, but there are a few sections where the rear-wheel drivers may get to use a bit of power and run their legs a little.
Yeah, particularly the GP loop section would seem to play into the hands of the rear-wheel drive. But I remember a couple of seasons ago we raced the Indy circuit with I think it was 35 cars at the time, and that was very crazy but very good.
Yes, that was one of my early races in the GRC, Mike. I remember the introduction to GRC Championship racing very well. Now, Jack, obviously different car for you. If I remember rightly, you're not a BMW man.
I'm afraid I am, Ade.
Ah, too many Jacks. So the commentary booth is full of BMW drivers. So you're looking forward to Brands Hatch, Jack?
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, I love driving the track in any mod. It's one of the first. That and Snetterton are the first two tracks I try any mod with, including the CDDP mod, the F1 mod that was released a few days ago. First track I tried it on was Snetterton. But no, I can't wait for Brands. It always produces great racing. Like Mike says, the curbs are going to be the tricky issue. Because if we hit one of those, then that's where the BMW today struggled through the chicane at Donnington, because you have to ride the curb so hard.
Yeah, as you say, Brands' curbs are a little notorious on the British motor racing scene.
As
along
are
with its
the gravel
traps.
traps.
Yes, we were having the same thought there. We've seen many a car trying to dig itself out of Paddock Hill Bend.
And I've seen trucks go straight through it.
Well, talking of trucks, and first thanking you gentlemen for joining me in the booth. Talking of trucks, GRC's next event, not on PSR TV. GRC will be running truck racing on Wednesday night, all the way through December. So join us for that. Details on rfgrc.co.uk. So wrapping up the broadcast for this evening, I'd like to thank Neil Wood on cameras, Hans Bergander on references and material, and thank you all very much for watching and joining us. So thank you to all the drivers, thank you to PSR TV, and for me, Ade Randle, it's good night. But don't be first, before you finally get rid of me for the evening, and I finally get to have a drink and cool my throat down, don't forget, this time next week, 8:30 GMT, sorry, 8:15 GMT, it's the finale of the Division 2 RedShiftNews.com Championship. And then in 2 weeks' time, subject to confirmation following the abandonment of this Donnington round, it'll be back to Brands Hatch for the Division 1 finale. So hopefully see you next week, or hear from me in a fortnight. Thank you all, and good night.